Hello, hello, welcome to another quilting video. So, as you could probably guess, I have gotten my quilt back from the quilter, so that's very exciting. But I do want to talk about a few different things in this video. First of all, I want to talk about something that happened before the quilting process, which it's not a huge deal, but I just thought I'd mention it, because I mentioned all my trials and tribulations through this whole thing. Then I want to talk about, going to the quilter, my thoughts and everything like that. And then as a final thing, I want to show my room off because I realized that my last video, I showed the wall, but I didn't say anything about it, that my room was painted or anything. It's funny because in different takes, because I did several takes, I actually did mention it, but in the final take that I ended up keeping, I didn't say anything about the room at all. I think I just kind of wanted to be done with it. And just like not even mention that part, but it is all done now. So I will kind of show you around the room and like different things. All right, so let's get started. So first things first, I sent it off to the quilter, obviously. And it was, I don't even know, maybe a couple days after I had given it to her, I actually get a phone call, and luckily this was during my vacation, so I was awake. Normally I wouldn't have been, so it was actually really good that I took her call. And of course everything can't go just peachy, but she says, hey, it looks like your length is too long and the sheet that you gave me is too short. And I'm like, oh, are you kidding me? Because, I bought that king sheet and I thought there was going to be enough length. I thought surely. But I think if I remember correctly, what she said was it ended up being just the exact length of it. And so she obviously needs a little bit more, which when I'm figuring it, there would have been an extra like 5 inches. But I guess when everything's really stretched out, like it's supposed to be really tight and everything, it just didn't work out. So she asked me if she could take some of the fabric from the side and put it onto the top. And I said, oh yeah, no problem. You can definitely do that. I'm sorry that that happened though, because I was just, that's been a whole fiasco. So anyway, that gets me to the day that I actually go pick it up. Well, I guess not quite the day yet, the day before. She'd been asking me like a couple of finishing questions like, hey, do you want me to go ahead and cut off the extra batting and backing? I said, yes, please. And then she asked something else. And I thought, okay, here we go. She's going to be done with the quilt. And I responded to those messages like a little bit earlier. I think I responded to those like before I went to work at like 5 or whatever. And then she didn't say anything for a long time. So I was like, oh no, it's not even going to be done. And I'm like getting my hopes up about it because, I have the next couple of days off. So I was really hoping I could pick it up then. So I was kind of like, whatever, it's not going to be done. Well, then I get a message fairly late. I think it was like 7:30 or something like that. And she said, okay, it's done. And I was like, oh, thank goodness. So we had to set up a time, for me to pick it up. I said, oh, can I pick it up tomorrow? And she said, yeah, that's fine. And I asked her, okay, well, what's the earliest that I can come? And she said, 11 a.m. I'm like, okay, that's not going to work because I will be sleeping. And she asked me, oh, well, what time do you get off work? And I said, well, too early. I get up at 5:30 a.m. She's like, oh, yeah, that is too early. Okay. And I said, well, what about 4:30 p.m., which I knew that I would wake up. I was going to say long before that. That's been getting me in trouble. So I tried to sleep later. Of course, I woke up several times, during the night. Not just because of the quilting thing. I mean, that was part of it. But just, other things. And, but I thought, let's do 4:30 just to make 100% sure I'll be able to, go and be rested, I guess. Like, okay, that works. So we went there today, and I guess they'd been like, her and her husband or something had been like shucking corn. Or I don't even know. She was talking about how like the dogs have been eating corn off the floor when they've been, messing with it and stuff. So I thought that was kind of funny. But so I think that's why she was a little bit worried about the time, because she's like, oh, I might be in the middle of that, which I don't know if they like just got done or what, but anyway, so, she led me upstairs, and honestly, like the second I saw the quilt, I was like, oh my gosh, I honestly can't believe that's my quilt. It looks so good. That pattern that we picked out, I feel like it just worked perfectly. It just adds a little something, you know, and of course you'll see it later in this video, you know, don't worry. But I thought it was really nice because something that she commented on was, I didn't have any wavy borders, which I was so nervous about. I mean, not just having a wavy border, just kind of everything altogether, really. Just because, you know, this is something I've completely done on my own. I haven't had any help. It's one of those things I just wanted to see if I could do it. And, but no, she complimented me, like I said, no wavy border. She said it was very flat, which, I mean, I tried to iron it as best I could anyway. I know it wasn't like 100% flat, but for it only being my second quilt, I mean, apparently I did pretty good. She didn't even say for it only being my second quilt, you know, but anyway. Another thing she said is next time, which if I do another quilt, I will probably be taking her up on this because it would be so much easier. Sometimes I can get batting cheaper from her, just buying it straight. Because I think, if I'm understanding correctly, she doesn't buy like the bags of batting. She just buys it like on a roll and then just does it that way. And honestly, that would have solved my... Well, I don't know if it would have solved it, to be honest, because she was talking about how... Well, no, it would have. It would. Sorry. It's like trying to think out loud here. If she would have had enough backing, because I think she said her rolls are like 96 inches wide, which it would have been close, but I think it would have got it. And then I wouldn't have had to worry about like, oh, did I get the right size? She would have just, you know, been able to do it that way, cut it down to whatever size she needed. And go about her day. And yeah, I wouldn't have had to mess with, oh, this one doesn't work, I have to get another one. Anyway, so I'm thinking, yeah, if I do make another quilt, I'll probably just have her do her batting thing. And because it sounds like she always has some on hand, which is good. I mean, again, when I saw her room last time, like this is her thing, you know, that she does. It's not like a little hobby that she just, oh, every once in a while I make quilts. Like, you know, that's not the case. So, but yeah, no, I was really happy to hear that. And then I'll have to show you the little whatever nameplate thing that she did. It's so cute. Like, she kind of showed me like a little preview of it where it said like the To Caitlin part, and I thought, okay, you know, that's cute. She was checking on the color of the thread. It ended up being green. She said, oh, I can do it purple or white or whatever. And I said, no, that's perfect. That's fine. But she ended up giving it a little extra something. So I'll have to show that to you. It looks so good. I know I keep saying that, but anyway, so it ended up being a really weird price. It was like $133. You know, and I don't carry around cash. So I'm like, all right, you're just going to get a little tip because $140 it is. But no, honestly, seeing the quilt, it's so worth it. I mean, it looks so good. I know I keep talking it up, but yeah, you'll see it. But that's pretty much it. Just kept talking about it in the car, like, oh my gosh, this is so good. And I was so relieved that everything ended up working out. And actually, I looked at that part of the quilt where she had to add that piece of fabric. I barely even noticed it. Like, if I wouldn't have known that she had to add that piece, I probably wouldn't even have seen it. So that's really good. I was a little worried about that. I don't know why I would have been worried. I mean, she's a quilter, so she would have been making it seamlessly. But anyway, so that is the whole quilting thing. And I will go ahead and show you my room now. Okay, the first thing I'm going to show is kind of random, but I have my little ironing board and my iron on the door now. We'll see if this works out. I thought about putting it on the wall, but I'm like, do I really want to put more holes in my wall? Probably not. So yeah, this just hangs right over. The only thing is, like, the way my iron is, sorry, it's kind of dark, but it really doesn't hold on to it that well. I mean, it hasn't fallen or anything, so I'm assuming it's okay. And then I ended up just putting my little ironing board on here. And I'll show you why in a second. Well, part of it is because I really didn't want this big heavy ironing board on there, and this one's really lightweight. All right, so as we come around here, I'll kind of back up. I've got, it looks kind of the same. I've still got all this stuff here. Yeah, that little shelf there, I originally had actually bought. When I say bought, I mean, well, not like I stole it, but I went to the flea market and I got this one where it's like, it was wooden and it had these little hooks that came down. And I thought, oh, that'd be really cute to like hang these things. But yeah, ended up not working out, unfortunately. I mean, this little shelf works. I also like how this shelf has a lip, whereas the other one didn't, you know, just in case the cats get up here, you know, if they're knocking stuff around, it has a little bit of room to kind of shuffle around in there. Anyway, still got my clipboard. I have considered getting a different clipboard. I mean, this one works fine, but it's just kind of plain. I have my dice bag tutorial thing on here, which I finally printed. I don't know why I waited so long to print that out, because I was always looking on my phone and everything's kind of tiny. But anyway, these are my favorite owl pictures. Got them from a Renaissance fair. They are so pretty. And I pretty much based everything on this room around those, like kind of the vibe. Got my clock, which is the same, except you probably didn't really notice it. And I actually don't know if I've ever really shown my clock in a video, but I took all my little colored pieces out from the back, so it's just plain. I don't know if I'm gonna try to do more colors or whatever, but for right now, it's just plain. And then here's my picture that my sissy made for me. It's got a bunch of like little fortunes on there from fortune cookies that we collected over the years, really. She finally ended up doing something with it. I mean, this is like kind of an old picture at this point, but anyway, I really like it. So as we come around here, I'm trying to get tangled. I have a cord here. Oh, there we go. All right, so this is a little bit different. There's a blank spot there that I thought about putting something. So we come around here. I got a new miniature shelf thing. The other one was black and it was smaller. I like this one because it's like kind of an off-white. I sort of, you know, I say this, I wanted like softer colors in here when everything else is still kind of dark. Anyway, so I like there's more space, so that means I can add more things to it. I decorated this shelf with my Mexico stuff. So technically the thing on either end were souvenirs that my in-laws got. They're not actually ours. Well, they're ours. What am I saying? But we didn't get them from Mexico. Actually, wait. No, she got the cat too. Okay, so none of these things. The only thing is this little Cancun sand thing. And then this was like a little sand that I did when I was, I think I was in Girl Scouts or something. I actually don't even remember. And it was so funny. I'll just tell you this. So my husband was like looking at everything in here, you know, just like, oh, it looks good. And he saw that little sand and he was like, is that our wedding sand? No. What? Literally, that is not our wedding sand. It's not even the same colors. Like it's, well, okay, fine. There's orange in there, but there's like green, purple. Anyway, I think it's a different kind of sand too. Like it's not just standard sand. Anyway, but I don't think I ever really showed you this, but my bookcase is actually a completely different bookcase than the one I had in here before. I wanted a shorter bookcase actually to put that above it. And all of these books that are in here are actually all of my books. Before it was like all of like my husband's stuff, and I don't think I had any of my own books in that bookcase actually, maybe like one. Now I don't have a lot of books, but I thought it'd be really nice to actually have those all together. Real quick too, I'll just show you this little dice bag that I made my sister. I'm trying to get this to focus. As it's going around the room, it's having some issues. Okay, there we go. She's just got her little cats on there, and then little pink top. And we could not decide the color on this. That was definitely a thing. All right, so we're gonna go around here. I'm gonna back up a little bit. So I'm thinking about just keeping my ironing board like stationed here. So that's partially why I didn't put it on the door. There's a nice, good space here, and you know what? I hate getting it out every time. And we'll see if that stays. I don't know. I'll probably put it in that corner, which is kind of its designated location, because it's hard to get it in and out of the closet. So another new thing is I made this curtain, which, you know, It's not perfect, but there it is. Oh, my cat's meowing out in the hallway. He's very sad. It's actually a lot busier than I kind of expected it to be. But you know, there it is. And I think it matches the wall really well. And it actually looks green. It's pretty true to color for the most part. My TV is the same. That was interesting getting that back up. I didn't fully take out the bracket there. Just kind of put it away from the wall and just painted behind it. This is kind of the same. Let's see if I can go any closer. Okay, yeah, I'm on a cord here, so that little map thing there wasn't there before. I don't know why he's trying to get in. He usually doesn't try to get in this room. All right, got my SpongeBob stuff, got my little clowns. There we go. Now this shelf is different. I got my like London, you know, all my stuff when we went overseas, because I think it's a cool frame, but I didn't know if I still wanted to use it, but I decided to. And then I added like my little garter on top of it, a little flag. Got my memorial stuff there. That's pretty much the same. Yeah, I don't think I really did much with that one. And then I got my own little Beetlejuice section down there, which is only slightly different. I just put the banner kind of pinned on the top there. And then, like I said, this blank wall, well, actually, I don't know if I said it. In another take, I mentioned the blank wall. But yeah, I don't know what I'm going to put there. We'll have to see. My masks are exactly the same. Well, I did rearrange the ones up top just a little bit, but yeah, and then we are back to the beginning. So that is it for the room. All right, this is the moment you've all been waiting for. Ta-da! All right, yeah, so it doesn't look much different from this distance, so we'll have to zoom in and show you a little bit more in detail here. So if I get down here, you can kind of start to see the pattern there. It shows up really well in the dark. On the light, it doesn't show up as well, but that's fine. Like, I didn't necessarily... The problem is, well, I don't know if it's really a problem, but, you know, with having the dark and light, I mean, it's going to show up really well on one and not as well on another. And actually, I think this is interesting. Oh, my cat just ran by. I actually think it shows up more... Like, this purple actually shows up more on the purple than it does on the green. So I think that's very interesting. Not that the purple was really that dark, like the thread to begin with, but one thing I was worried about for the border here is that it would just stand out too much. But I actually think with going with a purple instead of the green, which it still would have been fine, I think, it actually blends in really well. Like, it's just, you know, subtle enough that I think it works really well with it. I don't know if my camera is having trouble focusing on all this, but it's a lot to look at, I understand. But anyway, it does look so much better in person. It's hard to really tell on camera exactly what's going on. All right, so another thing I will go ahead and show you, which actually I think I'm going to turn the camera off for this, because I don't know how it's going to focus. Okay, so here is the little nameplate that she did, and I think it is just so cute. I knew that she was going to do the green lettering. She showed me that ahead of time, but I didn't know that she was going to do this purple border, and I just think it looks so good. Like, I saw that, and I was like, are you kidding me? Anyway, also, you can really see the pattern on the back here with this really dark black, and I say dark black because if you kind of compare it to the black on the front, it is definitely darker. But yeah, I really like it. One thing I was a little bummed about, but it's not a huge deal, is I did send her my Strange and Unusual sis instead of sister. But, you know, that's small. I'm just glad she spelled her name right, you know. And it's one of those things like, oh, of course she spelled it right. It was in a text. Yes, I know. But sometimes people just glance and they don't really, you know. Anyway, she'll get it because it happens to me as well. So one thing I completely forgot to mention, I was so excited about showing the quilt off, my room and everything. So the next step and the last step is to do the binding for the quilt. So as you know, I was like really trying to think hard about how I wanted to do it, what kind of fabric I had. And with all that in mind, the thing I've ended up going with is a colored one. And by that, I basically just mean all 4 colors that are in the quilt is gonna be in the binding. For a hot minute, I thought about doing like just a black and white one, but I figured that was too plain. And I think it'd be nice to have like little more pops of color on the ends. It really doesn't matter when it comes down to it. It's just something to hold it all together. But, you know, it just adds a little extra. And so that's what we're gonna do. I was looking up how to do binding because again, it's been a while. Now, the binding that I'm thinking about doing, or the binding method, I suppose, is gonna be different than what I did the first time. I really want to try to do a continuous binding. It's a little trickier, but I think if I watch the tutorials more, I'll be able to do it. Because with the first one, we would like do a side, stop, do another side, stop. But I think this is just my, you know, my wheels turning here. I'm thinking that a continuous binding would probably be more stable. Because when I did my other quilt, I have like a tiny bit of experience. There was a couple of ends that the seams kind of popped out, like the little, you know, and I'm thinking, well, but if you do as continuous, there's not going to be little pieces popping out. Like there's really only going to be the chance of one spot popping out, and that will be, you know, where you started and stopped. And even then, the way that it's done, which I will probably try to kind of show you like when I'm doing it, praying that it goes fine, that I figure everything out. It's not hard, but it's just different than what I've done before. But yeah, so that would be my next step is my next video I will be doing, I'll be trying to do just like all the binding stuff within one video, you know, making all the binding, and because I'll have to cut out pieces for that, you know, and then put it all together, which the cutting honestly is going to take longer than the putting together, because it's literally just, you know, end to end. I mean, real quick. But doing a continuous piece, I'll have to measure everything, kind of see, you know, get a calculation of how much I'm going to need. I don't think it would be a huge deal to add more onto it, but I want to get a ballpark of how much fabric I'm going to need. So, you know, we'll have to see if I'll have to make extra, which I might do that anyway. And sometimes when you're cutting fabric, it just turns out that way, like how you end up cutting everything. So anyway, that, I know I've just blabbered on long enough. I mean, that's basically it. So we will see you next time.